Hello, welcome back to another podcast episode. It's the Week 12 preview. I don't understand how the season has flown by faster than Usain Bolt running a 40. We're almost at the finish line. Andrewster really already got one disappointment side.
Yeah,
We're
that
like
might be a
4
world
seconds.
record, Liam.
Like you saying, that's sick. Let's go. It's the Week 12 preview, though. We got a lot to talk about. There's some good games. There's some bad games because you know what the SEC wants to do in Week 12. Austin P is on the chopping block, but we've got a lot of good football to talk about, a lot of storylines to look at, and we're joined today by our special guest and guest picker, Sam Connon, publisher of All Bruins over on Fan Nation and Sports Illustrated.
Hey, Liam, how's it going?
Going good. Good to have you, man. We're really excited to talk with you and hope you're doing well and everything.
Yeah, happy to be here.
All right. So first off, just wanted to start by asking you a question that has to do, with kind of your journey and the grind that you've been on and just like maybe some advice that you have to give to other young sports writers who are on that grind and trying to make it.
Yeah, so I came out to UCLA as a bright-eyed freshman back in 2017. Knew I loved sports and I loved writing, so went to the Daily Bruin school paper and decided to write about sports. Worked my way up through that whole system, became the sports editor. Halfway through college, decided, you know what, I'm going to make this my career, do what I can. COVID hits, jobs aren't looking great and everything. So it's a lot of finding what you can, doing what you can, creating your own opportunities. So reaching out to people, for freelance work or for connections and everything like that, that definitely really helped me. So when graduation came around and I was looking for a job, I had worked for the Sports Illustrated site covering the New England Patriots, where I'm originally from Boston, so I had some familiarity there, made some connections there, pitched the UCLA site, which they had been trying to start for a couple of years, but hadn't been able to get it off the ground. And I figured, you know what, I can be that kind of self-starter. It's a weird market out there, but there's definitely those kind of opportunities if you kind of scope them out and really dig into the new media side of things, whether it's podcasts or aggregation or reporting or just all these different networks. There are a lot of opportunities out there if you can kind of dig through and find them for yourself.
Yeah, you're definitely doing a really good job and like doing a lot of really good things, for UCLA, Patriots, whatever. You do really good work, and we all really appreciate what you do. And yeah, for young writers out there, just keep grinding and like Sam said, reach out to people and try and poke the bear. I don't know the expression, but try and get it in there. You know what I'm saying? Oh man, I'm so bad coming up with words on the fly like that. I don't know. But we gotta talk coach of the year. We gotta talk actual college football. Who is your coach of the year right now, Sam?
I don't know if this is the obvious pick or the dark horse pick because I've seen people say it, but I don't know how much they're joking. I'm being kind of genuine when I say Jim Mora.
And Mora.
Getting UConn to bowl eligibility in his first year there, it's just such a feel-good story. I mean, coming from a UCLA perspective, obviously things didn't end on the best of terms with him in Westwood, kind of slow decline, and then things got messy in that last year. But it's fun to see a football dude go and make his own football program and all that kind of stuff, basically from scratch, from nothing. UConn had won, 4 games in the last 3 years, 3 games in 4 years, whatever it was. They were awful. And
2020 national champs.
That's right. Didn't lose. But I think to get them back to relevance, I think is really incredible. I don't know if because of this season and what he maybe does next season, he gets a big job again, or UConn moves to a group of 5 conference or gets lumped into all this realignment. But I think it's really important what he's done there. And it's just been really impressive, obviously, given the circumstances.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Jim Mora has done, and as Liam probably doesn't want to say him Mora again because he says it every time. But yeah, Jim Mora's done some, that's debatable. Jim Mora's done some amazing things at UConn this year. He's turned a program that has been an absolute joke for what seems like the last decade, almost last half decade, and he's turned it into a respectable program and to have fun football. Something I didn't think I would be saying about UConn this year. It's truly a Husky revolution. I do think he should be the coach of the year. Yes, you can say guys like Lance Leipold, and I don't want to steal Liam's answers, even though I don't know them, but there are definitely a good amount of candidates. Fritz at Tulane's definitely one. I just think what Jim Mora has done is not only so good for the sport to get UConn back in football, like you said, it's a feel-good story. It's fun. Husky revolution. Him Mora.
Yeah, I think another thing to point out there with him Mora, is just the amount of injuries that UConn has been able to overcome. And like from week 0, they were getting hit hard by injuries, losing starting quarterbacks, running backs, whatever it be. Jim Mora and his squad were able to overcome that week in and week out and build off like these incredible wins as massive underdogs, as Vegas tells us. And like nobody saw him being Liberty, who saw him being BC in the way that they did. Like they've been stacking up wins. Let's see if they can beat Army this week. I'm sorry. I'm all for like co-coach of the year though and put in the co and coach, but TCU was picked to finish 7th in the Big 12. They are very close to finally making the playoff when they should have made it a few years ago and got robbed, but we ain't here for that. Sonny Dykes has been just unreal this season. Like week in and week out, how often do you hear just, the public or the national media just say like, voice their concerns for TCU, right, and doubt them. Week in, week out, TCU says, stop saying we're not legit. Vegas disrespects them with every line that there is. Like TCU shuts them up week in and week out. The entire country is now in love with Hypnotoad. Everyone thinks that Hypnotoad is from TCU. They couldn't tell you it's actually from Futurama. And like, I don't know, man, just what TCU's been able to do in the in-game adjustments that Dykes and Garrett Riley do. I think they're the best team making on-the-fly adjustments in the sport and coming out the second half preparing for one of those. That's why they're able to make so many comebacks and just spark a lead offense in the second half. So I got to tip my cap to Mr. Dykes. I'm sorry, fellas.
That's fair. And I think the crazy thing is the guys we're talking about and the other options out there, just all these first-year coaches are absolutely nailing it. And Jim Mora at UConn, Sonny Dykes, USC, Lincoln Riley, obviously the expectations were that for them to be this good, and they are this good. And you look at it before last week, maybe I could have said Dan Lanning for coach of the year before he lost to Washington, but who did he lose to at Washington? But Kalen DeBoer, first-year head coach. It was a very successful carousel last year for a lot of these teams, and whether you're Washington, Oregon, USC, UConn, TCU, you got to feel pretty good about where you are right now with the beginning of a new era. It's already started off a pretty good foot for these guys.
And we didn't even talk about the team that won the SEC West, LSU and Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
How about Elko at Duke?
That's definitely another one. Duke's been very surprising this year.
And Notre Dame has somehow re-entered the national picture, 7-3 in the rankings again. There some pretty gross losses there, but also on a first-year coach, looking like the sky hasn't exactly fallen. It's not bad.
Now let's go. Oh, sorry.
Just don't mention first-year coaches to Miami fans.
That's come on, Andrew.
I'm sorry, I had to throw it in there. Y'all throw me the lob with the first-year coaches. I have to get a shot in at one point.
We hated on Miami every week. They could have a week,
and we can do it again.
They play this week.
I don't know who they played this week. They murdered Georgia Tech. That's all I know last week.
They play Clemson, kid.
Yeah, last week I said Georgia Tech. I didn't know who they were playing this week. Sorry, I don't pay attention to Miami's schedule.
Way to go, college football guy. Best, most interesting storyline going into week 12. What is it?
I think what's going on in the Pac-12. I think before the Oregon and UCLA losses this past weekend, it was pretty simple, cut and dry. There's basically going to be 2 semifinals this weekend, the UCLA-USC game and the Oregon-Utah game. And now those games are still incredibly important, but there's like 6 other factors going on. Yeah. So you have 5 ranked teams, is it 6? However many in the Pac-12. Yeah, USC, Utah, Oregon, Washington, UCLA, and Oregon State. So you got 6 ranked teams, more than any other conference. And there's still just an all-out brawl for the 2 spots in the title game. And a lot of that's going to come down to this week with obviously the big rivalry game with UCLA and USC. But there's also the Oregon-Utah game. What goes down with that? Can UCLA and Oregon rebound from tough losses last week? There's so many factors in the Pac-12. It's total chaos per usual. And it's usually kind of gross chaos, but there are 4 teams at 8-2 plus a 7-3 team and a 9-1 team. This is high quality chaos. This is great stuff.
It's just a shame that the Pac-12 couldn't stray away from creating this late season chaos.
Yeah.
We went from 3 playoff hopeful teams to 1 in the span of like 3.5 hours, only in the Pac-12, man.
Yeah, I'm going to go from the Pac-12 to the Big 12. Texas coming off that big loss against TCU. They were favored by a lot. I fell for it. That was stupid on my part, believing in Texas. Who should have thought about that? And now they got to play one of America's favorite rivalry games. No, it's not the Red River Shootout. It's Texas versus Kansas. Kansas having their best year in what seems like forever. And Texas, they have a little bit of a recent history with Kansas, if you know what I mean. And Texas, Quinn Ewers has been struggling a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean a lot of it. If they don't get off the mat, Kansas can score, but Texas got a defense. This is going to be an actual very good game to watch, even though this game really doesn't matter too much. I guess Texas can Texas still make the Big 12 title game? I believe they can.
Gosh, I don't know. I can't.
That conference is just so weird. I think it's TCU versus either Kansas State or Texas. And frankly, I don't want to see Texas TCU again. That game sucked. But
it was Big Ten football. You're in Big Ten country.
Okay, just because it was Big Ten football, doesn't mean I was a fan of it.
Big Ten.
At least it was warmer. I have to go stand out in 8-degree weather this Saturday. That's not too fun. But yeah, Texas. This is not just look at Texas. They're possibly going to lose to Kansas again. No, they can actually lose to Kansas. Kansas is not a bad football team. Kansas can put up points. We need a good statement game from Quinn Ewers. Can we call Kansas a statement game? When Quinn Ewers has been playing like he has the last few weeks, you kind of need to.
Yeah, so the first thing I've got to just throw out there is, are Texas A&M fans actually going to storm the field after they beat UMass? Rumors are swirling. If that happens, I think that's one of the most incredible things in college football history, but also one of the most embarrassing things in college football history. And A&M needs to just chill out and figure this out and have to. If you do this, you have to follow it up by winning the Natty in 2023. Come on, it's so sad. But figuring that Sam was going to go with the Pac-12, it's not going to be my storyline. I'll do a normal Liam Blutman does and just focus on the importance of this week's MAC games. This is a massive week for MACtion. On Saturday, you have Buffalo. They just need a win over Akron, and they're going to clinch bowl eligibility. You look on Tuesday. We're recording this on Tuesday, so we're already going to know who won everything when this goes up on Wednesday. But Bowling Green travels to Toledo, and then they have a road trip to Ohio next week. They're playing the two teams that might just play for the MAC title. They're at 5 wins. Bowling Green just needs 1 win to make a bowl game, but they've got 2 very tough ones. Ball State's at 5 wins as well. They host Ohio today. They travel to Miami of Ohio next week. Miami of Ohio has 4 wins. They play Northern Illinois this week, and of course have Ball State next week. Kent State's at 4 wins. This is a team that's very good, just hasn't lived up to expectations after their non-conference gauntlet. They're at 4 wins. They have Eastern Michigan this week, and then they have Buffalo next. 2 teams that are likely both bowl eligible after Buffalo beats Akron. I know I'm rambling on here. I'm sorry. Central Michigan has 4 wins. Bert Emanuel Jr. just came out of nowhere to save their season. And if they could string together 2 wins against Western Michigan and Eastern Michigan, they're a bowl team. Right now, Ohio, Toledo, Eastern Michigan, they're all bowl eligible, but there's an opportunity that the MAC could find 6 more teams to become bowl eligible this week and next week. So I think that's a very important storyline to look towards, and it means a lot for, UConn, who doesn't necessarily have a bowl tie-in. If enough teams become bowl eligible, UConn could just straight get pushed out. They don't get the 7th win, which is completely garbage, but I'm not on the bowl committee. I don't make the rules.
If they find a way to push out UConn, I say we start a riot.
Just
Mac,
nationwide.
the Mac goes from the most loved to the most hated that quickly, huh? How dare you turn on my guys?
There's only one way to fix it, Liam. UConn, you are now in the Maction.
That's so frightening. Oh, my
UConn on a
gosh.
Tuesday night in Kent.
I mean, that's must watch.
It
I'm
is.
all for it. I'm all for that. Instead of talking more about the action, because you know I could do that for the next, I don't know, 4 hours before the games kick off. Top 25 teams. We obviously don't have the college football playoff rankings to go off of right now, since we're recording before that. But what top 25 team do you see having trouble this week?
I think I'm going to start with Notre Dame. I was just talking about how things are going pretty well considering how they started. But they're playing BC, who they just beat NC State at NC State. And that's I mean, Notre Dame is playing this game at home, but they kind of had trouble with Navy a little bit. This BC team is 3-7, but if you just look at their games, they lost by 1 touchdown to Duke. They lost by 10 points to UConn. They beat Louisville by 1 point. And yeah, they lost by 1 to Rutgers. They play a lot of close games, and Notre Dame, having lost to Stanford and Marshall, and I can see a scenario where they lose this at home, just completely flip the season on its head. Oh, you think it's going in the right direction? Nope. No, it's not. So that's probably my pick. Another one, just to throw out there quickly, would probably be UCF against Navy. Navy just gave Notre Dame a tough time. UCF pulled off a really good win against Tulane, but Navy's a team that, who knows, any given Saturday they can just rattle off some kind of crazy game. So we'll see in that one too.
Before the show, I was going to talk about a certain team. I realized, you know what, Andrew, you're stupid if you say that team, because I've been saying, oh, this is the week they lose. This is the week they lose. I'm not going to bring up TCU now. I'm going to go down to the I'm going to go down to the SEC. Ole Miss, after last week, which was just tough. Now you got to go to Fayetteville. Arkansas is not a good team. I'm not saying they're a good team. I'm saying it's a tough place to play. They're a tough football team that just played LSU very dang close. That's the last thing I want as an Ole Miss team. I just want a good, let this be the FCS week. Let me play, Southeastern Illinois. Let me play someone like Quinshon Judkins have a billion trillion yards. No, now you got to play a physical Arkansas team that can punch you in the mouth. Do we know the injury status of KJ Jefferson?
I'm not sure. I'm sure he's a game time decision again.
Hopefully he plays, because Malik Hornsby, yikes, that was not fun to watch. He's a very good athlete. Quarterback, that's a different story. Ole Miss, they're only about a 2.5 point favorite on the road. Arkansas, man, they're 5-5. They're fighting for bowl eligibility at this point. They need one of these.
Yeah, and they've got Mizzou on deck, dude. You're going to scary waters there, though, because I had that Arkansas over LSU shout out last week, and Harold Perkins made me look like a fool, huh?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, that was not fun. I'm with Sam here, though. I like Boston College giving Notre Dame a tough test. I do kind of hate the call, but like, whatever. Sam's on it. I could be on it too. We're going to manifest this one. They've been on a tear recently, Notre Dame has. They had wins over Syracuse and Clemson. They had the weird one against Navy. 4-game winning streak for a team that was completely written off after September. What a September to forget. My goodness, it was bad. Big thing here, Notre Dame plays SC next week. Notre Dame could be just straight up looking ahead and overlooking BC. Boston College might just have those 3 wins, but they did just go and beat a very, NC State's defense is stellar. I ain't saying much about the offense, but that defense is stellar. Emmett Morehead looked really good against them, minus the 2 picks. I think he throws a pretty dang good football, elite back shoulder fade that you'll see him throw. The 6'4" true freshman Joe Griffin, get to know that name. And hey, you don't have to win, but just cover, make this game look closer than many think, make Sam and I look good, and get the ball in Zay Flowers' hands. Let Zay Flowers keep seeing his draft stock skyrocket, because we know that dude's going to crush it in the NFL for years to come. That kid is special.
He's insane.
He is like, dude, his movement after the catch is just jaw dropping.
Yeah.
We'll go on to something we do weekly, the team or the player or the coach, whatever it be, that has the most to gain, and then who has the most to lose.
Liam, this is why you brought me on the show to talk. I mean, I'm coming from this UCLA perspective, the team I cover. And I kind of want to start off by saying Chip Kelly for both. Because if he wins, then last week was a fluke. They're still in the race for the Pac-12 title game. They're probably going to hit 10 wins this season. And you just, what is that? That he'd improve to 3-2 against USC in 5 years. That'd be really impressive. It would show that this year was a true turnaround. And if they lose, then it shows maybe those wins over Washington and Utah were a little fluky, falling off down the stretch. Usually this team gets better as the year goes on under Chip, but I don't know. They're falling off. They were 6-0, and they're gonna lose 3 out of 6. It's just, you can't feel good about that. I don't think that it puts him on the hot seat, because they just extended him, and they will probably get to 9 wins by beating Cal and maybe 10 by winning a bowl game. We'll see. But it would be hard for UCLA fans to feel good about Chip Kelly if he loses to USC on Saturday.
All right.
Understandably so.
Most to gain. I'm gonna go to the FCS. I'm gonna go to Montana. Montana, they're playing Montana State in Bozeman, College Game Day, Brawl of the Wild, one of my favorite rivalries in the sport. I think that there are multiple reasons for Montana to just absolutely get hyped. Number one, they need this win to get into the playoffs. If they don't win this game, there's a chance they don't make the playoffs, and that's massive, because going into the year, there were 4 FCS teams just above everybody else. It was the North Dakota State, South Dakota State, and then the 2 Montana schools. Montana's faltered a lot this year. They need this win over Montana State. Number 2, College Game Day is going to Bozeman. College Game Day could have gone to Missoula last year, but instead they went to UCLA. So Montana is going to be a little upset. Hey, you chose Bozeman over Missoula? I've been to both. Missoula is a lot nicer. I love Missoula. It's a beautiful place. They're going to be mad that we now have to go to Bozeman. All the attention's on Bozeman. They hate Bozeman. And of course, number 3, they have the Brawl of the Wild trophy right now. They want to keep it. It's just like every other rivalry game, except for some reason, this one just means more, in my opinion. Montana wants to just show everybody, hey, just because Montana State's ranked higher and we've had some losses, they're still our little brother.
Hey, man, UCLA did them a favor, did the Brawl of the Wild a favor this year by ensuring that they lost to Arizona so that game day could go to Brawl of the Wild instead of UCLA SC. So, yes, UCLA returned the favor.
We thank y'all. We thank y'all this year.
No problem, man. Most to gain, Brent Venables in Oklahoma. It's been an impossibly bad start to that Brent Vegetables era. Oklahoma fans are down tremendously bad. Like, plain and simple, they've got Oklahoma State coming in for one of the most fun rivalries in the sport. Like, Bedlam is truly one of my favorite games to watch year in and year out. Kind of care less about this game this year. This game reeks. But again, you're fighting for a chance to become a bowl eligible team, and you could redeem yourselves in some sort of tiny way by getting an edge over Oklahoma State here in your first year, Mr. Venables. Everything's gone so possibly wrong. You cannot lose to Oklahoma State. You can't miss a bowl game. They have a lot to gain here. And then for lose, I went to the Sun Belt. I went to Troy, because they control their own destiny, and they're playing 2 much lesser opponents. They're playing UL Monroe this week and Arkansas State on the road next week. You've got to win both games, and you're playing Coastal in the Sun Belt Championship. It's a very good football team. They're 8-2. They had that tough loss to open the year against Ole Miss. I think it was 28-10. Then everyone knows the fluky Hail Mary to App State. You just don't want to drop the ball against an two inferior opponents in your final two games. They had a rough one last week, 10-9 win over Army, which of course isn't a conference game, so it didn't really matter in the Sun Belt West scheme of things. But South Alabama's right on their tail. That's a team that should have really beat UCLA way back in the beginning of the year. South Alabama is a better team than Troy, in my opinion, despite that 10-6 loss to Troy. I think the Jaguars they're on the prowl. I think they closed 2-0, so Troy cannot afford a loss here, else they'll be watching the Sun Belt Championship game at home, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to join us watching the Sun Belt Championship game. I know we all look forward to it every year. Biggest game of the year, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That and the MAC championship.
I didn't think I was the only one that was in that, but that's good. Game you're most looking forward to watching.
Again, I feel like UCLA USC is the top tier for me. I mean, there are so few ranked matchups this week, and also the stakes when it comes to the Pac-12 and my own personal interest following
Oregon
these
State
teams all
ASU.
year. Yeah. But also BC Notre Dame, that's up there. Illinois Michigan, I think, would probably be my go-to though. I want to see just what can Michigan do against a good, not great team heading into this Ohio State game the week after. I don't really want to say it's a trap game, but if you're pushing for Michigan to make the playoff, and especially if you're one of the people who thinks that the loser of Michigan, Ohio State should contend for a playoff spot too, this is the kind of game that you want to look at if you're the committee, if you're a Michigan fan. Can they take a pretty decent Illinois team that started the year really hot and just embarrass them down the stretch? I think that there are stakes to it, and obviously watching Blake Corum play is obviously really fun a lot. It should be a decent game, and if you're Michigan, you should be hoping for a blowout to kind of boost your resume because you don't know what's going to happen next week.
I would love to see Illinois go out there and compete till the final whistle and make that like a 3-point game or something. After all the garbage I've talked about them all year, if Illinois goes and wins that game, I will cherish this team forever.
I will not.
I will, dude. Michigan is going to be the most undeserving 11-1 team of all time. They played nobody. Penn State, Ohio State.
Whoa.
USC might be contending for that too.
Oh shoot! I have to make the meme. Oh, you're right there. So I have to make the meme where I'm going to say when the playoff rankings come out today, I'm going to say Michigan gets a lot of hate for their schedule, but they beat a bowl eligible UConn team. They beat the #1 team in Hawaii. They beat a top 2 team in Colorado. They beat the 1967 Big Ten champs. Like, they played a tough schedule.
Yeah, UConn. I'm gonna go down to the Pac-12. The Jaden DeLaura revenge game is happening this week. Arizona gets Washington State to come to their house, and this is such an interesting story that I loved following. JDL was kind of pushed out of Pullman for Cam Ward, and I would say it's kind of been a win-win-win for all situations involved. Jaden DeLaura and Arizona, they've got a fun team this year. Obviously, we don't need to talk about last week with 2 UCLA fans in the Zoom.
It's okay. We understand. It happens every year.
I'm a Minnesota fan. We're all used to disappointment. But JDL and Jed Fish have done great work at Arizona. You can say, oh, but they're 4-6. Arizona's 4-6. That's good. They used to be the bottom feeder of the country. Yeah. They beat a North Dakota State team. I didn't think they would do that. That's props to them. Now, granted, FCS, but the best of the FCS, one of the best of the FCS. The Wildcats are a good team. Washington State over the last few weeks has kind of found their groove. They started off a little rocky with those high expectations, mainly from me and Liam just being such Cam Ward fans. This is a massive game, not really for the Pac-12, but Arizona can make a bowl game if they win this game. I can't remember Wazoo's record off the top of my head, but this is just for – okay, so they're already going bowling. Wazoo, did they make the right decision? I believe they did. Jaden DeLaura wants to prove that they didn't.
It's just a shame that, hey, ASU, Oregon State, you're on the ESPN2. Wazoo, Arizona, you're on Pac-12 Network. 94 people are going to be watching, and I'm not going to be one of them.
I'll be one of them.
I'm glad that you in Minnesota have Pac-12 Network, and I in Vegas don't have it. That's how this works, right?
I actually do have Pac-12 Network.
Yeah, that's pathetic. Like,
I don't know how.
I thought Kliavkoff is supposed to be all in on Vegas. What is this?
I don't know. Like, it's terrible.
You should be going door to door, handing out
Yeah.
old-fashioned cable packages and stuff to get people in Vegas on Pac-12 Network. What a disgrace!
The only way I can watch Pac-12 Network is by going on YouTube and like flying out to Japan and saying that's where I live for the 3 hours I'm watching. Like, it's garbage stuff. I'm really looking forward to both the game, all the games you guys listed. I can't lie, the sickos of me are just really looking forward to watching some UAB LSU at 6 p.m. Pacific, though. I guess it kind of does collide with UCLA SC a bit, but hey, I'm very excited to watch UAB on the other screen and LSU, of course. I'm pretty surprised to see LSU is just a 14.5-point favorite here. I thought this would have been around 20 and a half, 21, 3 touchdowns against a 5-5 UAB team that is a lot better than their record indicates. But you're LSU, right? Like, this is a team that is still deep in that playoff hunt. They're going to be playing in the SEC championship game against Georgia. You should be favored by more than 14.5 against UAB. I'm not tripping, right? Like, oh my gosh. What? Say it, Andrewster, because am I tripping?
No, you're not tripping, and it's making me think Vegas knows something about the Blazers.
Or that they're just low on LSU.
I don't blame them for being low on LSU.
You don't see it?
I don't know. I really don't. That was a good win a few weeks ago against Alabama. Barely beat Arkansas. Just the early season struggles. It's the same kind of thing with Notre Dame. Is you think everything's turned around. It's all sunshine and rainbows, but I just don't think it's gonna last. I don't know. I don't know if UAB is gonna be the one to knock them off. I don't know who they're playing next week. But yeah, they're playing Georgia.
A&M and then Georgia.
Oh yeah. So I don't know. They're probably gonna lose by 50 to Georgia. So it's just a matter of whether or not they lose before then.
Like, getting the opportunity to watch Harold Perkins Jr. play is going to be very fun. Again, he's went from like 3-4 weeks ago. He was just a really good freshman. Now he's one of the best defensive players in the country that quickly. That's what will happen when you're spying Bryce Young and Malik Hornsby and you excel in dominant fashion against both of them. He played a perfect game against Arkansas. Harold Perkins did, and that's not going to be asked from him against UAB. He's not going to be spying the quarterback. UAB is a team that runs the ball a heck of a lot. They have a lethal 1-2 punch at running back with my guy Dwayne McBride and then Jermaine Brown Jr., one of the best running back duos in the country. LSU can't overlook these guys. Like, McBride should be the clear favorite to win the Doak Walker right now. And if he played at any Power 5, he would be getting Heisman love. Chase Brown was getting low-key Heisman talk. No, like, Dwayne McBride crushes. Dwayne McBride has been one of the most productive players in the country, and he missed the first game of the season, and he's still 70 yards behind Chase Brown for the FBS lead and rushing. Like, McBride is sick, dude. He's run for at least 100 yards in every game this season. I'm very intrigued to see if that streak continues against SEC Ball Club in the trenches, LSU. His performance in this stage is also big for NFL draft stock. So UAB LSU, lock in.
Lock in for the Conference USA versus the SEC. Which conference is superior?
Kusa. Easy.
We're about to get midweek Kusa. I call it midweek Murica.
I really do, man. Hot take or bold prediction for week 12. Let's go. This is the good stuff.
All right. I think at least one SEC team is going to lose this week.
Oh, LSU, there it is.
So it could be LSU against UAB. Looking at the rest, 4-6 Missouri against 4-5 New Mexico State.
Oh my God! Imagine if that happens.
I'm just saying, 4-6 Auburn against 7-4 Western Kentucky.
Mm.
And then you got Texas A&M at 3-7 going against 1-9 UMass. I think between those, 3 or 4 games I just rattled off, I think one of those teams is going to lose. I don't know who it's going to be,
nasty.
but like if you add up all the percentages, I think there's a pretty decent shot that one of them loses. I personally, watching UMass beat Texas A&M would just be the greatest thing to ever happen to college football. This UMass team they're bad by UMass standards, and UMass obviously is not anything special. But I mean, they only lost by 2 to Arkansas State last week. I'm trying to look for good things for them. I don't think I can. They lost
There's not
28-0 to
many.
Temple. They only lost by 7 to Eastern Michigan. They lost by 45 to Toledo and 32 to Tulane. This is not a good team, but Texas A&M is just going through such a whirlwind right now that I don't put it at 0% that UMass pulls off this upset. And then you add on top of it the UAB, LSU stuff you're talking about, a not so good Auburn team playing Western Kentucky, who's all right, and then New Mexico State and Missouri, neither of which are particularly good. All these SEC teams obviously have the talent advantage, but just the time and place, all these different factors coming in, I think one of them's going to fall.
Look, I'm surprised that you didn't bring up Austin P over Alabama.
I wish.
Dude, like I talked earlier about, like A&M fans are legit like trying to get that happening to where they're rushing the field post beating UMass. If in this world UMass actually were to win that game, do A&M fans rush the field anyway?
Yes,
Sure.
Because that's a bigger victory. Because that means Jimbo has to go.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Yeah,
No
like what was happening with Herm Edwards with the assistants leaking stuff to opponents. Who knows? Maybe that's going on A&M. Maybe like boosters are asking for playbooks and then sending them up to UMass.
UMass might need more than that. UMass might need to borrow a few of the suspended players. Get Chris Marshall over there at UMass this week.
Just because I said that, it's probably going to be like a 50-point win for A&M, but I would love to see it. It's a non-zero chance.
It is a non-zero chance. And I'm actually going to branch off on the SEC because I've written down Western Kentucky shows the world that last year was not a one-time thing, and they take down Cadillac Williams and Auburn at Jordan-Hare. Austin Reed, Malachi Corley, more talented receivers than I can name. Western Kentucky can score. Auburn struggles at times. I think if you can limit Tank Bigsby's production, you can limit Auburn's production. And I think that Western Kentucky is going to be able to put up points on the board. I'm going to take Western Kentucky outright in this game.
And talk about that point spread. Raises your eyebrows.
It's like 6.5. 6.5 for a Conference USA team against an SEC team.
I'm looking at the FPI now, and FPI, which is like notoriously not very favorable to Group of 5 teams, and it's giving Western Kentucky a 45% chance to win. And given the history and what goes into the FPI and everything, like, okay, it's probably a little bit higher than that in reality. That's crazy.
Give me a few touchdowns from David Davis in that game, and I'll join you, Andrew. Sure, give me Western Kentucky outright. Why not? I ain't no coward. I'm going to be a fun game. It is going to be a fun game. Also, SMU Tulane's going to be fun. I'm going more of the bold prediction route here as opposed to a hot take. Tulane hasn't allowed a receiver to rack up 100 yards receiving in a game all season long. There's been a few 70s, a few 90s. Nobody's eclipsed the 100-yard mark. My guy Rashid Rice, Thursday night, NFL eyes all over him, getting some first-round love. I know Andrewster joins me on that. I like Rashid Rice to go for 170 plus and 2 touchdowns in this game and prove that he needs to be a top pick on every Biletnikoff voters ballot. Like Rashid Rice is that dude. His physicality, during and after the catch is crazy. The amount of PIs that he picks up too is unreal. But maybe we shouldn't pick those up. Let's get legit receiving yards, Rashid. Let's go for 170 plus, 2+ touchdowns. And yeah, Rashid Rice is very good. People should be aware of that right now.
Maybe fight through the PI and get the catch.
He had 137 against Tulane in 2020. And he was just, like WR3 on the SMU team. So heck of a player. But let's move on to player focus. Another thing we do every week. And very excited to see who you've got, Sam.
For the headliners, the Power 5, I'm going to go Zach Charbonnet. I think that he has probably been the best running back in the country this year. He had another game of over 200 yards from scrimmage on Saturday in the loss against Arizona, and that was with him probably not getting the ball as much as he should have. So the Bruins are leaning on him a lot. Obviously, DTR is going to have a big game if UCLA wants to compete against USC, like he has the past couple times he's played the Trojans. But Zach Charbonnet, he's legit. He's another guy who, for some reason, the McShays of the world think he's not that much of a prospect, but this is the kind of stage where he can say, you know what, I'm just going to put up the same production I've been doing all year and prove all of you wrong by showing how great I am. And he's not like DTR where he's flashy and talking trash and everything. He's just like a put your head down and get 200 yards kind of guy. And I think that's something that can definitely happen this Saturday.
Look,
and
he shut me up because I when he hit the transfer and went over to UCLA from Michigan, I was pretty skeptical. Like, I wasn't high on that at all. And
yeah,
he shut me up right away. Like, he's looked very good. He brings a lot of juice, power. He's fun to watch.
Yeah, and then for a group of 5 guy, I was thinking maybe Michael Pratt from Tulane, who's kind of, I think his taking out the Kansas State game earlier in the year, his 3 lowest passer ratings of the year have come in the last 3 weeks. Obviously Tulane finally lost this week after a nice winning streak. It's be interesting to see if he can get them back on track and kind of stop that downward trend. But I think I'm going to go Austin Reed for Western Kentucky in this Auburn game. He's putting up video game numbers, throwing, running, doing it all. And if he can do it against an SEC team like Auburn and pull off a road upset, that'd just be incredible. He'd be the kind of guy who goes down in history for these little college football circles that are obsessed with the Western Kentuckys of the world.
That would be us.
Yes.
All right. Power 5. I'm never one for being negative about players because there's so many factors about this. And I'm not being negative about this player. It's just an unfortunate circumstance. Sean Tucker hasn't recorded a 100-yard game since they played Wagner on the 1st of October. It's not been great. And I'm not saying it's his fault. That offensive line cannot run block to save their lives. This is a good chance to get that 100-yard mark. Wake Forest, their defense is not good, but their run defense is actually kind of hit or miss. I think it was about 3 weeks ago, they got thrashed by Louisville on the ground. But last 2 weeks against the North Carolina schools, UNC and NC State, they were pretty dang successful against the run. Show everybody that Sean Tucker is going to be pleased with the outcome of this game, pleased with his production, and pleased with the outcome of everything for the rest of the season. Get 100 yards against Wake Forest, Sean Tucker.
How sad has it been having to read his tweets the last few weeks? You could feel the tears streaming down his face as he types.
It makes me sad, man, because if he was getting yards and Syracuse was losing, at least he'd be like, I'm pleased with my outcome. Maybe he, throws a coach under the bus, which would be hilarious. I think he's already done that. But no, it's unfortunate because he seems like such a great guy. And he's obviously a talented player.
Good prospect and everything. He's just not getting, the good enough production. And the volume isn't always there either. And he needs to be showcasing the receiver more. And we're nuking his draft stock for no reason.
That was 5 carries against Clemson, biggest game of the season. You give your best player on offense 5
per 2, sick.
Yeah, literally going into the 3rd quarter, he had like 11 yards per carry, 5 carries. Why are you not giving him the football? Why are you throwing? And just, I don't know. That was completely inept. But we'll move away from inept and we'll go to Marshall, not an inept team, playing a quarterback that I'm not going to say is inept, but he throws a lot of picks, Kyle Van Treese. Marshall's got a pair of stud corners that I know Liam absolutely freaking loves. I'll focus in on Stephen.
Understatement.
Yeah, that's definitely an understatement. Stephen Gilmore, the Gilmore name. He's such a talented corner. This could be a game where, we don't often see a player get 3 picks, but if he's targeted, I'm not going to say 3 picks is out of the question. Possibly get 2. He'll probably get 1, knowing Georgia Southern's offense. But this could be a absolutely stat and not even stat pad, because stat pad has negative connotations like, oh, fourth quarter down 30, you're doing something. No, this could just be an absolute statistical feast for that Marshall secondary. I'll focus in a little bit on Stephen Gilmore.
Yeah, the brother of Stephon, and on the other side of corner, Micah Abraham, who seems to get an interception like every other game. Guys are unreal. NFL dudes. Look, you guys both showcased Power 5 running backs. I knew I had to go to the Pac-12 with Sam on. So let me talk about the trenches. Brandon Kipper, offensive lineman at Oregon State. Let's talk about a guy who's setting the table for running backs. 6'6" beast, is always a joy to watch on the Oregon State offensive line, which is very dang good, as we know, evidenced by that award that they won, the Joe Moore Award in 2021. Look, 6-year senior, his career is winding down quickly. He's only got a few games left, and that stinks because Kipper is a fun guy to watch and everything, and he's just creating great holes for these talented Oregon State backs. But the NFL draft talk really isn't there, and I don't understand it. I think that this is a guy that deserves that love. He's pretty dang good in the pass game. He's really, really strong in the run game. I love the way that his hand placement is really good. I think his footwork is beautiful. And I don't know, I love his strength and everything. I think with his wrestling background too, this is someone that draft fanatics are going to fall in love with in a few months. Why that's not there now, I don't know. I think Brandon Kipper is a dude though, so look out for him. And Group 5/FCS Celebration Bowl is coming up. NC Central will be playing in that game, so let's go the HBCU route. Let's talk Khalil Baker, DB at NC Central. First 4 games of the season, 1, 2, 3, 4, got an interception every single one of those games. Those are the only 4 interceptions that this talented ball hawk has though this season. Against Tennessee Tech, final regular season game, I'm looking for Baker to snag an interception here. I think this is another guy. He's in his junior year right now. So I think next year as a senior, he's going to start getting some NFL love. I think Khalil Baker's a really good player, and NC Central, show him some respect. That's a fun team that's going to be playing Jackson State in the Celebration Bowl.
Yeah, and the Celebration Bowl is always so fun to watch, and obviously with Dion going to the SWAC, it's just been given so much more of a spotlight in the media, which it should have had more media coverage, but at least it's getting it now. Better, what's that saying? Better sooner rather than
better late than never.
Better late than never. Thank you. I'm dumb. I can't remember any of this stuff. I know college football, not adages.
And the Pac-12 does a very good job with showing love to HBCUs, especially on the basketball
UCLA.
court. I was looking at Arizona State and Colorado, who lost to SWAC schools last week. Nice. Love giving back. Let's make game picks, man. We got 10 games to make. I don't know the records off the top of my head, but I don't think any of our guests have gotten to 8 wins yet in a week.
Oof.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's get there, man. TCU Baylor.
I'm going TCU. I know it's on the road. I know that a lot of people are just waiting for this magical run to end, but I just think what Sonny Dykes has done, like we were talking about, has been really impressive. Max Duggan's really good. TCU is going to win this one against a not great Baylor team.
Yeah, I thought going into the year Baylor was not going to be great. They're not great. TCU, it's a weird spread, 3-point favorites going into Waco. Waco's not a place I like playing. It's a tough place to play, but I just got to go with my gut on this one. I don't think Baylor's all that good. I'm going to take TCU.
What, like a month and a half ago, I said TCU was gonna like go on the win streak, and then they would lose to Texas and Baylor. I'm off that. Like I just don't think Vegas respects TCU. I think that's it. Like I look at this Baylor spread, but I look at last week against Texas, and I thought Vegas is wanting you to take bait on TCU. But I don't think that's the case. I just think that they're severely undervaluing one of the best teams in the country. I'm going to bet TCU this week. I think that this is just extremely good value, and these are numbers that you shouldn't be getting, because if this was Oklahoma, they're at least like 7.5, 8. Like if this was the Oklahoma brand, I'm saying they're fair, but what, like 7.5, 8 here at Baylor? If they were the number 4 team in the country, TCU's superb. Kendre Miller is a dog. Houston, East Carolina, big time game in the AAC.
This is tough. Two pretty evenly matched teams. I'm gonna go and lean with the quarterback battle. So Clayton Tune, I think, is really good. So I'm gonna take Houston to pull off the road upset in this one.
I think I'm gonna lean ECU. Houston's been a weird story all year. Everyone thinks that they can be this 11-1, 12-0 American title winner that could possibly be that group of five person in the New Year's Six. Not been the case all year. They've had a few injuries. I'm going to take East Carolina Holt Nailers, and of course, Mr. Keaton.
Yeah, need to see if Keaton is healthy and playing because he took a nasty hit last week. Definitely, probably in concussion protocol. Hopefully, he's playing. One of my favorite players in the country. ECU still got a lot of great players though. CJ Johnson, man, CJ Johnson is just stellar. I like what Holton Nailers has been able to do this year. I'm going to take ECU, and now we can move on to NC State Louisville.
This is tough. Do we have any ideas? Malik Cunningham healthy? Where's Leary? I don't know where to go with either of these teams. He's done for the okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. Malik Cunningham's the one because he was not playing great
Day to day.
And okay.
Classic college football injury news right there.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna go with NC State to bounce back from the BC loss last week. I know they're on the road instead at home this week, but I mean, if Malik Cunningham doesn't play, then I think it's NC State's.
Yeah, I have Louisville written down on the spreadsheet, but call me stupid if I ever pick on Scott Satterfield to win a football game. I'm taking NC State.
Yeah, NC State bounces back. I think their defense is too good. Louisville's offensive playbook and scheme is dreadful. So we could talk about fun football. Kansas hosting Texas.
I'm gonna go Kansas. I think I mean, again, talking about brands, Texas should not be favored by as much as they are. What's the spread in this game?
Like 9.
Not feeling it at Kansas. Kansas has been a thorn in Texas's side when they weren't good, and now they are good. So playing at home, obviously things have fallen off since that hot start, but I'm still going to take Kansas in this one.
For the sake of social media, I hope Kansas wins. For the sake of my picks, I have to take Texas.
Yeah, I'm also going to take Texas. And just looking at Big 12 standings now, since we referenced it earlier, we know TCU's in the Big 12 championship. Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Baylor, Texas are all still live for that second spot.
Hold up. Oklahoma State is still live.
Yeah, they're 4-3 in conference. Baylor's 4-3 in conference. Texas is 4-3 in conference. K-State's 5-2 in conference at West Virginia this week, hosting Kansas next week. This is going to be an ugly 2 weeks to find out who that second team is that's going to play TCU. Oh my gosh. That's bad. That's like what people think the Pac-12 is. Yeah, so I'm going to take Texas. I just think, like, I don't know. Quinn Ewers can't be as bad as he's been, right? Like, $1 million mullet is worth how much now, Andrewster?
Oh, million cents.
That's still more than Jimbo, though, right?
I mean, Jimbo is probably worth about $1 million tuitions.
Speaking of tuition, Stanford plays football this week. Yeah, and they're playing Cal, which only picking this game. Why?
Yeah, Dylan, what's up?
Battle of 3 and 7 teams. Who comes out with the axe? So bad.
I guess Cal. I don't know. It's because Stanford beat Notre Dame, but Cal lost to Notre Dame. They're both 3 and 7. They both suck. But I'm gonna go Cal playing at home.
They just fire our guy Angus.
Yeah, there you go. Their offense it'll be turned around. They're dropping 49 on Stanford this week.
Jaden Ott versus David Shaw. I wonder who I'm gonna pick. Give me Cal by $1 billion.
By $1 billion?
Yeah, I'm taking alt spread.
Okay, we talk about a lot. Jay and Ott, dude is a stud. Mr. Servan is also an incredible receiver for Cal. Look out for him. I'm going to take Cal to keep that axe, and that game is just dreadful. Prayers to those watching on Pac-12 Network. Boise State, Wyoming. Let's go. Good football.
I'm gonna go Boise State. I think Wyoming barely hung on at Colorado State last week, and I mean, both teams are going to run the ball a lot. I think it's going to be close. Home field advantage. I'm going to give it to Wyoming though.
I'm gonna go Boise State. Ever since the Hank Bachmeier lost the starting job, this has been a different team. Taylor Green, absolute freaking athlete. That's just the juice that Boise State needed. Everyone was doubting them halfway through the season. Oh, this is the end of the Boise State fun era. The blue field is no more. It's now just freaking clear with all the tears of the Boise State Broncos fans. Nope, not anymore. Now it's red, like the Eastern Washington field with the blood of their opponents, Boise State.
I have like 159 favorite players in the country to watch. Taylor Green is high up on that list. Love watching him play. Give me Boise State and JL Skinner. What is he, Andrewster?
He's a behemoth.
Not a dog.
Okay, I've got a lot of like sayings. Oh, this player's this. You gotta like kind of hint me towards one because I can say bulldozer. He's a dog. He's a behemoth. Like I got a lot of these, Liam.
Oklahoma State, Oklahoma. Gargantuan game.
I think I'm gonna go Oklahoma. I think for some reason, Venables going for bowl eligibility and trying to turn around a horrible first season. Ironically, bookending what we were talking about at the beginning with coaching hires that worked. I'm not totally sure this one did. But he's got to win this one. It's a rivalry game. It's always going to be closer than the record suggests. So I'm going to go Oklahoma on this one.
Is this the worst game ever?
Yeah. Well, Stanford Cal. So this is second worst.
Second.
Are we sure?
Yes,
Are we sure?
If Bedlam fails us and they can't put up like 45 combined, then yes, this is the worst.
Okay, someone do the hashtag. What are the odds that Stanford Cal has more points than Bedlam this year? It's got to be like plus 1,200. You got to kind of look at it because Oklahoma State doesn't have a quarterback. Oklahoma just has struggled all year. I'm going to take Oklahoma for the fact that they know who their quarterback is. I thought the
UCLA legend.
Legend.
What an era.
He was on campus at one point. That is something you can say. I'm going to take Oklahoma. Oklahoma State you suck. You suck.
They do.
I mean, you both suck. But
I switched my pick on the fly. I'm taking the Pokes. I'm taking Oklahoma State. I think so many of our I think like we have so many people pick games. I think like 90% of people are going to pick Oklahoma. 7-point favorite in this game. For what reason? This should be like a straight up pick 'em. Oklahoma State could still make the Big 12 championship. Give me that, and Oklahoma could worry about going bowling at Texas Tech next week. Gross game. Oklahoma State. Let's go, Mike Gundy. Who are you taking, Mike Gundy or Brent Vegetables? Give me Gundy.
Neither.
Oh, well, okay. Sorry, PJ.
Can I choose an interim?
29.
What? Can I choose an interim head coach?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just give me any interim head coach.
All right.
Give me Mickey. Give me Mickey.
Okay.
How about Jeff Saturday? Just coming in from the NFL. He never coached in the NFL, so who cares if he's never coached in college?
Oh, you know what? Oklahoma needs to pull an Indianapolis Colts and get Baker Mayfield on the phone.
I was looking forward to Colorado head coach Jeff Saturday. I like the sound of that.
Colorado head coach Joel Klatt.
Ooh, what?
That'd be nice.
Dude, Gus Johnson in the headset, offense coordinator, the guy who hates analytics so much.
He's got to be up in the booth. There's nowhere else for him.
I just want you running down the sideline.
This would be a good shtick.
Colorado, if you want to be good, you might not be good, but you'll be fun.
Utah, Oregon, the vibes for this game are just not what they could have been.
No, I'm still gonna go Oregon though. I think last week's loss was a bit of a fluke. There were some poor decisions from Lanning. I know the analytics say he should have gone for that fourth down, but I mean, you got to consider the fact that your quarterback wasn't in. They're already in field goal range and a tie. Like you can't do that. I don't think he's gonna have that kind of mistake again. I think the refs kind of screwed him over at the end too. Maybe if it had gone to overtime, Bo Nix come back, they could have beat Washington, and we'd be talking about Oregon still in the playoff race. And I think they're still that good of a team. They didn't play horribly last week. They just lost on a couple bad luck moves and poor decisions. I still think they're a better team than Utah, so I'm going to pick Oregon to win this one.
So would you have straight up punted in that spot, or would you have called timeout and made sure Bo Nix is on the field for the 4th and 1?
If the second I noticed Bo Nix running over saying "put me in the game," I would have taken a timeout.
Yeah,
because they rushed a bad play, like obviously like he slipped and everything. It's not ideal, but like once you know that he's available and your gut says to go for it, then put in your best available guys and go for it.
the QB sneak with Bo is automatic.
Yeah, and it obviously still would have been a gutsy call, but at least you're giving yourself the best chance. With the backup in there, true freshman who you're not going to let throw the ball. Not that you would in that situation, but the defense knows exactly what you're doing. All 4 plays on that set of downs, and that just really screwed them over. So, I mean, if Bo Nix hadn't been available to come back in, yeah, I honestly probably would have punted. If I see him running over saying "put me in," I would have called a timeout and put him in and run it. But I would not have done what they did.
I'll be honest, I think they still would have picked up the yard if they didn't slip, but I think I'm going Ty Thompson, a little keeper on the read option there.
Yeah,
I'm seeing if he could beat someone on the edge 1-1.
not a bad idea.
Or just QB sneaking. It's the best play in sports. Andrewster, though, who you got?
Last year, everyone seemed to be on Oregon, and Utah murdered them. I think this is a completely different case, completely different coaching staff. Mario Cristobal already kind of threw a shot at your way earlier. I'm going to just say Dan Lanning's a good head coach, made some poor decisions like we talked about. Look for Bucky Irving this game. I freaking love Bucky Irving. I think he's a future NFL back, true sophomore, absolute stud for the Oregon Ducks. They just continue to get very good running backs.
I'm going to Oregon as well. You lose last week in the way you did. You create more Pac-12 cannibalization. So do what the Pac-12 does best and make it even uglier than it should be. I think I'm taking Oregon here. And we could go into Andrewster, the game of your lifetime. The Brawl of the Wild, Montana State, college game day. It's our Group 5/FCS Transfer Portal CFB game of the week.
Do you want to let Sam go first, or do you want me to take?
No, you go first. You take us off top. You're the one who knows a little bit more about this matchup. I'll give it to you.
All right. For those who don't know, I have a lot of family who went to Montana. So I might be a little biased in that stance, but everything else, throw the chips away. Montana State is just a significantly better team this year. There is a chance they get Isaiah Ifanse back, which could be massive because their run game is already insane. Just adding him, he was projected to be the best running back in the entire FCS this year. Now he's getting his first game against Montana. Montana State looking for revenge. They're going to have the juice from college game day. I'm sorry, Grizzlies. I love y'all. I want to come back to Missoula as soon as I can. Hopefully there aren't pitchforks. I'm taking the Bobcats by a decent margin.
You were going to say by 1,000,000.
No, not by 1,000,000. I have too much respect for Montana. Like 17. Montana State by 17. It's 38-21.
Yeah, I think I'm also going to take Montana State, not knowing half as much as you do about this game, but I'm just looking at what they've done so far this year. I mean, to open the year, or maybe it was week 2. They were 43-point favorites against Morehead State, and they covered. They were 27-point favorites against Cal Poly last week, and they covered. They won 72-28. They were 40. Yeah. I don't know. There are a few other. Yeah, Idaho State. They were 25.5-point favorites. They win by 31. Obviously they're beating up on bad teams has helped them look a little bit better. But this offense is going to put up a lot of points, and I think with the home field, I'm going to give it to them.
I picked Montana State to upset Oregon State once upon a time.
That didn't go well.
It
No,
did not. I thought neutral site, weird vibes and everything. Montana State, one of the best teams in the FCS, could compete in that game. They couldn't. I switched my pick on the fly. I was going to take Montana State here. I'm going to take Montana. Andrewster talking about this game like 15 minutes ago is when I switched my pick. Montana winning this game, making a case to the committee to make that playoff, I think is really enticing. Montana State has won 4 of the last 5. Montana won last year. I like Montana to kind of shock all of Bozeman. College game day, the hype is real and everything. Raining on their parade would be fun, wouldn't it, for the Grizz? Give me Mr. O'Connell in Montana.
It'll probably be snowing on their parade. I guess.
That's fair. That's fair. It won't be snowing in LA. USC, UCLA should have had college game day. The Bruins choked it. It's our Power 5 transfer portal CFB game of the week.
I'm going to go USC. And
wow.
Yeah, I just neither of these teams have played a lot of good teams. UCLA's played more and looked better against them. But that Arizona loss just really, it's hard to put that behind me when I'm trying to think of, oh yeah, a team that lost to Arizona can beat top 10 USC like that. It just doesn't compute. So I think UCLA definitely can. Like I was saying earlier, with these rivalry games, you kind of throw a lot of the context out the window and just reset it. And DTR and Charbonnet, one of the best QB running back duos in the country. And I think they're going to be a lot of points. Both defenses suck. Both quarterbacks are great. Not having Travis Dye is definitely going to hurt USC. But I feel like Caleb Williams is going to throw for 1 billion yards and put up 80 points. So I don't think UCLA is going to be able to pull this one off, even though it's at home, even though they won last year by a lot. This is just a lot of UCLA fans are stuck on that 62-33, completely forgetting the fact that USC was on an interim coach in their worst year in a long, long time. And now they're a top 10 team again with one of the best coaches in the country, one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I think UCLA will compete and it'll be a good game, but I'm going to pick USC in this one.
Give us a score prediction since you're hinting at a lot of points and dropped. SC scores 80.
Okay, let's go. SC's going to win. All right, let me do some math. 52-48.
100 points on the dot.
100, right on the dot.
It was a fun game.
At least it was fun. There is one thing that everybody makes fun of UCLA for, and it's the attendance. This is a sellout crowd at the Rose Bowl. Get the juice. DTR legacy game. UCLA wins.
I really think DTR has a shot to potentially get to New York and maybe even win the Heisman. I think the race was wide open. That door is closed with the Arizona loss. It truly has. That's Drake May's award to win, but this ain't his game to play. I'm gonna take UCLA here, and there's really no logic for it other than this is what the Pac-12 is. It's all these teams ascending at a certain point and falling flat. SC is ascended to the top. They're on the cusp of the playoff right now. Any other team is in the spot, and I think a lot more people are straight up picking against them, assuming that this is their time. It's time for them to fall flat. I'm gonna pick UCLA here. I don't know. Jake Bobo legacy game. How about that? Yeah.
If there's any defense to do it against, it's SC's.
It is SC's. Obviously, getting Jordan Addison back is scary. I don't understand how he had 1 target last week against Colorado. First play of the game, gets a target, doesn't get another one after that. That's worrisome. I think he might be in for like 10 plus targets easily in this game. He could have his way against UCLA secondary. But, you know, as Sam kind of spoke about earlier with most to gain, most to lose, Chip Kelly, how on point would it be for Chip to go and get a win here for UCLA? Like, dude, it's just Sam and I know this better than anyone else. It's just the UCLA, just what has happened these last few years. I don't know, man. Give me UCLA, and I'll probably go 0-10 picks, but that's okay.
Is it though?
No, I went 2-8 last week.
You know what? You can't be much worse. And if you find a way to be worse, that's almost impressive.
You can't.
Yeah.
Hopefully Sam could go 8-2 though.
Oh yeah. So that's the bar. No one's gone 8-2 yet.
No one has. We've had Dave Pashon. We haven't had Bill
Sickos
Walton
committee.
on. Sickos committee. Shahan Jayaraya. Who else? We've had
All
so many
right.
people. Trevor
Your
Sickos.
father.
So some good company.
My
I'm
father.
looking forward to,
Yeah.
let's let's do this.
Yes, we need you at the top of the standings. We need UCLA Pac-12 West Coast representation. Room for you, Sam. And we thank you so much for joining us today, talking some Week 12 football. And if you're still watching over here on YouTube, Sam's Twitter has been on the screen the entire episode. Why have you not followed him on Twitter already? Please make sure to do that. Like and subscribe. Comment below what you're looking forward to in Week 12, and we appreciate y'all for watching. I don't understand why this season is almost over. That kind of stinks.
It does.